Can you read?
Tywin Lannister is an but any Game of Thrones fan has to admit that he was the sharpest and most well-adjusted person in Westeros. We're grading on a curve here for a show replete with psychopaths and sadists all vying for power and pleasure, but Tywin Lannister kept things simple. He valued wisdom, listening to others, ignoring critics, and doing your duty. Was he a bad father? Yeah, obviously. He was a horrible father to his son and his daughter Tyrion and Cersei, but this is Game of Thrones, not the Brady Bunch. I want to share 3 moments from Game of Thrones and Tywin Lannister which offer valuable philosophical advice on how to live, handle obstacles, and get stuff done. This is Geeky Stoics, where we find crossovers between Stoic philosophy and pop culture, so I'll explain how these moments overlap with Stoicism. Let's start with Tywin's first scene. Jaime Lannister informs his father that Ned Stark is still alive because in a duel, killing him would not have been clean or fair. Tywin is cleaning a deer carcass, barely turning around to look his son in the eye. He is a villain. Nobody likes the Lannisters, and you're not supposed to really like Tywin either. But that's sort of the point. As Cersei will later say to Ned Stark,
"When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die."
Tywin knows Jaime cares too much about his image and being thought well of. He doesn't like being known as the Kingslayer.
You spend too much time worrying about what other people think of you.
That's true. And you don't have to be a giant jerk to understand why this matters in real life. There are people who are going to hate your guts because it's a day that ends in Y. Our task is to focus our energies on getting stuff done and cooperating with others wherever we can. But your need for people to like you is holding you back. Mine too. Jaime says he doesn't care what people think of him, but Tywin knows that's not true.
I could care less what anyone thinks of me.
You know, that's what you want people to think of you.
It's the truth.
A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Tywin knows his job. It's to prevent chaos in the Seven Kingdoms and preserve the Lannister name and fortune. Everything else is secondary. The Roman senator Cicero, not a Stoic but an admirer of them, said, "Let other people worry over what they will say about you. They will say it in any case." On the same level, Cato the Younger, another senator, would walk Rome barefoot and without his full tunic to practice being stared at and sneered over for defying social norms. Why did he do this? Comfort with being the odd man out. Comfort with being a pariah. Not caring what people think of him. If it's not in your nature to do this, it takes practice. So stop wasting your life on other people's opinions about you. That brings me to the defense of King's Landing, when Tyrion Lannister rallies the troops to defend the city from Stannis Baratheon. He risks everything, is wounded in battle, and played an unforgettable role in saving the city. But Tyrion has a problem. He wants what the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius would call the third thing.
A little bloody gratitude would be a start.
That's when you've done a good thing, others have benefited from it, but you want recognition. A pat on the back or applause.
Jugglers and singers require applause. You are a Lannister.
Yeah, I would want some praise in return for saving the city myself. I would want a parade, but if you get locked into this kind of thinking, you'll be a slave to it for the rest of your life. You have to do your job and fulfill your roles because it's what you know needs to be done. If Tyrion can overcome this need for his father's approval, he'll be invincible. It doesn't turn out very nicely, but again, this is Game of Thrones. This is the last one for now. Tywin Lannister on what makes a good king.
What kind of king do you think he'll be?
A good king?
I think so as well. You've got the right temperament for it.
Joffrey is dead, and his brother Tommen Baratheon is now going to be king. In the septum, with Joffrey's body right in front of them, Tywin asks him, what makes a good king? And they begin a process of elimination.
Holiness?
A valuable trait, but there once was a great king who was very pious, and he starved himself to death because he came to believe that food was an earthly evil.
Justice?
Yeah. Good king must be just.
Another king of Westeros was a bold reformer and loved by the people, but he was too naive to watch out for his scheming brother who murdered him in his sleep. The third thing.
What about strength?
Yes. Strength.
Strength? Tommen's father Robert was a strong king who won a great war, but being strong wasn't enough to stop him from drinking himself practically to death. This is huge and the purpose of this video. The answer is wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yes.
Wisdom is what makes a good king.
Yes. But what is wisdom?
No virtue, whether it be courage, justice, temperance, compassion, patience, is worth anything unless you possess the wisdom to know when each virtue is called for and when they're not. The overly compassionate person can't always be just. The overly prudent person might drown out the courage that it takes to make a bold or decisive action when quick thinking is required. Wisdom. But how do you get wisdom?
A wise king knows what he knows and what he doesn't. A wise young king listens to his counselors and heeds their advice, and the wisest kings continue to listen to them long afterwards.
By listening to your advisors now and forever, by knowing what you don't know. It's hard to imagine Tywin Lannister saying that a good king knows when to ask for help. Those aren't his words, but that is what he's saying. We can't do great and important things alone. There are no self-made men. There are people who know who helped them figure life out and people who are too blind to recognize it and give thanks. In Marcus Aurelius' Stoic text, Meditations, it's split up into a bunch of different sections, and section 1 of the book, the very first passages, are the emperor thanking and recognizing all the people in his life who taught him the things that he needed to know and showed him the way. Teachers, parents, grandparents, historical figures, people who taught him everything that he needed to know to be an emperor. And that is what good kings are made of. That's what good leaders are made of. That's what good parents are made of. And that goes for all of us. Thanks for watching Geeky Stoics. Our channel is about philosophy in the plain sight of pop culture. Join our free newsletter and the community at geekystoics.com and live better, mythically.